What is up, everyone? My name is Corey. Welcome to the video. So I'm making this video different. I see many how to install Meshtastic, firmware install. There's not a lot of testing videos, which I made one yesterday. Hiked out back in the mountains with my son, went over 3 hills, about 2 miles, and went over the last hill was pretty big. And we were still able to hit home base down in the valley. So this stuff's amazing, but I want to talk about this differently. I want to talk about use cases, where we're at right now, because it's in beta stage, but beta is good enough for me and my family, my situation. A little bit of a backstory. I got a lot of background in computer programming, networking, cybersecurity, all things digital marketing. I run digital businesses, and I also built a security script, or some would say an antivirus software. It's called the Security Guardian. And anyways, I've had an affinity for computers for most all my life since I was a little. 38 now. And so I'm going to explain what is mesh. I got a list here. And guys, I'm not a YouTuber, but I see the gap. There's a big old gap. And even the people who think they know what they're doing, they're still saying things that prove they have no idea what they're doing. Like, we'll get into that. I'm going to write that down. Hops. They talk about their distance and their hops. And we're going to talk about the open mesh and private. Okay, so we got some points here. We're going to go through this, and straight out the gate, I'll let you know I do pre-configure kits for people. I can help with all the configuration. You can email me, kingdombiz, B-I-Z, kingdombiz at protonmail.com. All right, that's what's up. So what is mesh? Mesh, if you think about a typical, cell tower, that cell tower will send data down and up towards you, right? But it doesn't turn your device into a node that can pass data along privately until it gets to its destination. With these mesh devices, we can send a text. This is a repeater. This is a handheld. This is one I stuck to my phone, which we'll talk about, all right? And then this is a repeater. So you put a repeater up high, and I have successfully sent a message 91 miles. It was last night, actually, a record. For me, the record is 205 miles, but a successful delivery of a message, hopping, because you can hop, right? You hop through devices to extend your range. And I think I hopped through like 4 successfully. But in regards to the hops, remember this. Everyone who's listening, anyone who wants to debate, guys, because there's a ton of haters about this. I'll tell you why. The devil does not want you to know what I'm going to share with you. The devil wants you in big tech control, and this is open source. So I'm going to tell you straight up, all you haters, open source is the Trojan horse. Okay, to big tech control. And they'll say, well, you sell kits for too much. Okay, yeah. Have you ever ran a business? You got to pay tax. You got to run it right. You got to have all kinds of stuff in order. So, yeah, I offer building this as a service. Let's get that out the gate. And I do charge for it. It's not free because this isn't my main job. I just set this up because it went viral. I'm helping people have excellent systems because I have background in networking. All right, so here's another way to explain what we got here. Meshtastic is one of the open source mesh firmwares, okay? Firmware you can think of as an operating system. Like for Windows, your computer has Microsoft operating system Windows. Then you can interact. Well, this has firmware so that you can scroll through, there's message, hold it down, and you can send pre-canned messages with these little devices, and you can put them on your kit. All of a sudden, they're a mesh in your network, your private network, okay? And we're going to talk about open mesh versus private, because private is awesome. Now, then you can have stuff like Ken Home, where are you, check in, call, and you have backup comms for your kids. We also have these now. This is what got a lot of people excited, because now we have keyboards. We all knew that, I kind of knew as a developer that, it's tech's not there yet. They're still giving them crumbs for chips, no keyboards, and the chips that they sell will be much better. This chip's good, these chips are good, but not so much for peripherals or doing other things, because you can do a lot with this. And for some of you, think smart cities, smart homes, where you pay for a service. You can make your own smart stuff, right? Motion detected, send an alert to my device. And for that, we need chips. Basically what it is a development board. And don't get lost in the terminology. This is all easy, but this is the video that isn't out there. You see what I'm saying? I got to get to the nitty gritty and talk to you guys like adults, where we're going, because this can create a community type bulletin board system where you can have a large scale community, hundreds, thousands of people. It's been proven already and you can run a bulletin board service and protect communities if the grid goes down, cities, churches. So you can go county-wide. What I have on my desk, if I had one more repeater back there, I would say 4 repeaters is a solid dual county-wide, 2 county-wide range. And can you get further than, say, 60 miles? Oh yeah, people have gotten more than 100 miles with one of these. Last night I got 94 miles with this device. No, it was this one. All right, but this isn't connected. This is an old Android phone. This isn't connected to anything. I could do the same with this. From this to my garage, one hop, 94 miles out. All right, so we're using Meshtastic open source firmware, open source. So Mesh is open source now. All right, maybe it was for a long time, I don't know. But that's what excites me, because I love open source and I have developed various things with open source. Social site, I've done a chat, I've done video conferencing software, hosted servers, all this stuff because of open source. Now, open source. So that means I can have the code to the mesh. And there's already hundreds of thousands, maybe 1 million more individuals like me who say, hey, let's download the source code and create our own mesh off our own devices, which can be done. So now we can modify the script, make it better. So we've come to is a checkpoint. All right. We have crossed into a new level of communication where the average person can have their own mesh network. You put a repeater on your garage, you walk around with handhelds. And if you can't reach far enough, you put another repeater 5 miles out. And these things are, try it for yourself. All right. I'm not trying to sell anyone on it. I'm trying to tell you, for me, it's awesome. And it went viral. I know a lot of you guys are interested. I want you to have the right information. And I don't trust these very much, I'll tell you that, okay? From the development side, when I plug this in to flash it, they don't give me the source code to flash these. Could I get it? Yeah, I could get it. And when I go to flash these, flash the firmware, right? Some you can get them with the firmware on it. I would never use that one either. Because in Relay, someone can capture the devices and inject whatever, but they're cool, they work. I use it. If I leave it with my wife, nice antenna on it. I can leave it with her and I can reach her with one of these. I can connect it to an old Android phone and that gives me the keyboard. You can get like a cheap old Motorola phone. Someone said that in one of the groups, might as well stick one on an old phone. Go for it, right? So there's a lot to kind of cover, but what are some use cases for this? All right, say the power went out and it's out for a few hours. Well, I already have connection to the open mesh And when I say open mesh, this is what 99% of people are talking about. They're missing the whole point that you can have a private mesh on your own frequency that you choose within the research band, non-licensed research band. And if the grid goes down and the internet was done, you have frequency override. You can put a different sized antenna, 433 megahertz. These run on 915 megahertz right now. 906 is kind of the open one around here. But they'll have an open channel. 99% of people talking about the open channel. And when they're giving advice on these videos, they're giving you advice for the open channel. Fine, great, lovely. We need that. We need to put a repeater in the highest place possible. Don't put repeaters everywhere. People will comment that too, trying to sound cool. Because there's some groups out there, man, they're like little echo chambers of teenage boys and men my age acting like teenage boys about this, wanting to be know-it-all. I'm not a know-it-all. I'm just trying to tell you I do know enough to help you, and it works for me and my family, but there'll be haters. For some reason, it's crazy. But and one of it's because they're mad that I charge for a service. They think it should be free. Dude, I run a marketing business, a farm. I have all kinds of stuff that I do. All right, so I'm doing this because I'm also a prepper and I like all things off grid. One of my homes completely off grid. I spent a couple years building that thing myself, planting all my fruit trees, my solar installed myself. Now we bring in off grid comms where we have dominion over that. So this is a service for me to build these for you because it's not easy. All right, it's easy for me, it's easy for people who are tech savvy, but 10% of people out there, and no offense to you guys, don't even know what operating system your computer has on it. You don't know what a browser is. Many people have no idea how to do encryption, how to do all this stuff. You know, I talked to my dad about it, my mom. They're like, I understand the concept, but I have no clue what you're saying. Because when I say, hey, flash the firmware from the Chromium browser on a Linux operating system for guaranteed success with a verified file, none of that makes sense. It makes perfect sense to some of you guys. You're like, why are you charging for that? Okay, because they don't know how to do it. More of you guys should help other people too and start a business and learn how business works. I encourage more people. I call it the skill of mesh working. Meshwork engineer. You guys need a private mesh for your home, not just the public mesh. All right, so my point with that rant was the advice that is being parroted, the advice that's on YouTube is all coming from you helping the mesh, which I can be on the mesh, or I can switch to my private mesh with this device right here. I can switch to a private or have only private, only local broadcasts that are encrypted in under 1 watt. How do you do that? You have to program the radios. You have to program the channels. You can have 7 private encrypted channels currently with this version Meshtastic. And I am running some of the latest versions. But you can have 7 different rooms, and you can connect a whole bunch of devices to these rooms, and those are private chat groups, if you will, but you can also set your frequency, and you can pick your own frequency and sync every device to it. The way you wished ham radio worked, the way you wish GMRS and repeaters work, every single device acts as a repeater. So, you know what I do? Well, I'm not going to tell you my configuration because it's unique to every place. And so the other reason I help people with this is because your topography, your objective, I have mapping tools that I use, open source. Yep, they're free tools, but I can map your region, your territory to a T. And so if you're trying to cover a larger space, I have videos. I have a video on a diagram of how to do a circular mesh with 3 repeaters. out, all right? And then you have your handhelds inside, you have a router in the center. Why? Because it routes traffic. And so, but you got to see, some people are coming from a private network vision. Some people are coming from, hey, let's all join the mesh and talk on our unencrypted channels that we think are private, you know? And they'll tell you advice like, hey, don't put anything as a repeater. It's all client. Don't do a router. They don't understand how the stuff works. You got to read all the documentation, and you have to investigate the code. If you haven't done all that, you probably should not be just parroting other people's advice, because there's a lot of bad advice here on, and there's horrible tests. So let's go ahead and I'm not trying to bash everyone. I'm not saying I'm better than everyone. I'm just saying, like, let's do this the right way. So if you want a repeater, this is what I'm going with. Solar panel on the front. It has what's called a rack wireless chip, RAK wireless chip. They're very power efficient. And this antenna is very efficient. This is an antenna tester. I could do a video on it and show you guys how to do it, but it's called Nano VNA-H. I'm not an affiliate, but it's cheap. It works. A lot of the old ham guys that test antennas recommend this. They said they used to have to pay thousands for a device. You can now pay $50 for it. So I've tested, and I have found these antennas, I have found to be the best for LoRa, which is what we're using. Meshtastic operating system utilizing LoRa, which stands for long range. It's a communication type protocol called chirp spread spectrum. All right, which is what makes it really cool. If you understand how it works, here's what the repeaters do. They and the devices, okay, it sends out a chirp spread spectrum broadcast similar to radar, okay? A lot of this technology stems from the concept of radar. We have things like heartbeat. We have things like neighbor info, so that you are broadcasting and you can send a heartbeat out and let the other nodes in your frequency know where you're at, you see? So right now, I am on the open because I want to monitor, but I can pick up other devices for private. But this one is on the open right now, and there's 8 online, all right? And I can push this, I can go to the app, and I can see who's online, and I could chat with them. But the problem is, on the open channel, I don't control the hops. And there's a map of where they're all at. So it has some offline maps, not the best. This has offline maps up to 16x, so that is pretty sweet. And it also has GPS. So these things are cool. They all have their place in your mesh. So also these whip antennas, I've done a lot of tests on antennas. There's a box of antennas. Okay, I've done a lot of tests on antennas, and these are where it's at. I'll even go as far as doing this, where I had the little adapter. It's called an N-type adapter, and I'll even put that on a handheld. But the whips can be just as good, but you got to test them, because I had like 25% of the whips didn't even work, and some were way off. So these are consistent. So who's ever making these Alpha 915s, bueno, good job. And these, we're going to do a video on antennas. These that come with it, some of them are great, but if you bend it doesn't work. Okay? And people say, yes, my bent one, I got a message. Okay, cool. Well, all the bent ones that I tested, which was about 10, every time I did that, when it was connected to the tester, stopped working. All right? So what's the point with why I'm here? As a man with a family, okay, I have a son, I have a wife, and one on the way. I feel extremely safe in the communication department, in all departments. When you feel safe in communication, for example, I got neighbors that were in the Army. Okay, I got friends. So if something went down, like people can call me conspiracy theorist, the Chinese attack and launch drone, whatever, okay? Would you rather be the guy running around with your tactical comms, GMRS, 5 watt, 10 watt, 50 watt, blasting out frequencies everywhere? Or would you rather have encrypted low key text, pre canned messages, right, that can be sent under that noise floor and it's sent as a chirp? So let's talk about that, because that allows for very private communication, AES 256 encryption. People say, well, quantum computing is going to break it. We already have a solution for that. We can implement that into the open source code. It's already been, and I'm not going to go down into quantum computation except to say it's a bunch of hype to freak you guys out. And we need to be making steps towards devices like this with better development boards, keyboards, and then we need to have people that have their own private meshes. We can have it at the family level, we can have it at the city level, we can have it at the church level, or you can have 3 channels with all of them on the same frequency, or you could have a list, okay? But the current infrastructure, if it goes down, then we are in a good position to have these in our possession. So the radar thing comes in a lot of ways, but it's called CSS is what you'll see. And the best way to visualize it is how birds chirp, how they'll do different tones. And birds also are a good example of a mesh, because they're in the tops of the trees at different levels communicating. So when you set your mesh up for maximum efficiency, you can utilize different levels, different altitudes, yes, high up, of course, but then your other mesh nodes down at the bottom will also create connections, smart connections, and those connections will only get smarter from here. Right now, we're at 7 hops. You can have a router more effectively relay your messages as well as a repeater, and you can do a lot of cool settings. And I recommend learning those. And shout out to the guy who did the advanced course. Good job, thank you. I didn't have to do that, but the advanced course here on YouTube, I don't know your name, but just type in advanced Meshtastic course. I will say, to me, that's not advanced. That's beginner. And to anyone, that's going to be beginner level, because still, even out the gate, he does mention to set up your private channel. Awesome. But there's, like, people got to test their antennas. They got to do some things. And, you know, because I saw a guy out on the ranch doing a YouTube video test, and he didn't really understand what he was doing. And I don't want you guys to be roaming around with these devices not understanding them. And so imagine we're creating a human spider web. Imagine the treetops. Here's the way I explained it to my son. I said, imagine the treetops. There's birds chirping at all different levels. One bird chirps to the next one relays the message, going to the one that it's for. And then at the same time, the birds can talk to the squirrels on the ground, and the squirrels can relay messages super fast. They can run up into the trees, down, and you could even take it to the ant level, all right, because you can scale these things. But you could stop at the birds and the squirrels. 2 meshes, treetop mesh, ground mesh, or we could say high altitude mesh, low mesh, but then they connect back and forth. That's why I'm saying typical network engineers can be great at building meshes, but you have to realize it's not a typical network. But it's much easier to build, in my opinion, if you're creative. You have to have a little bit of creativity than computer networks. Computer networking is a task, and it's changed tremendously throughout the years. And communication networking is pretty cool. So mesh, I call it mesh working. There should be many more mesh work engineers. There will be. I got a little salty though. I'm gonna brush it off. I'm gonna bless you all because this thing went viral and a whole bunch of people started hating on me. They still follow. They'll be watching my video just to say something, but it went viral, and I was just building my family kit. Right, my sister showed everybody. Well, she showed one group, and it went viral, and they kicked me out the group. They took the post down, and it was just a photo. I was like, okay. There's little gatekeepers out there that want to hide this knowledge. It's not going to be hidden. It's open source, fools. And, trying to keep people from understanding this. So I said, well, I'll post it in 10 more groups, and I'll do it for 10 days. And that's what I did. And so people got upset. But what you need to realize is when the devil comes in and tries to shut something down, you need to be aware of it. I've said from the beginning, open source is the Trojan horse to globalism, communism, centralized control. Open source decentralizes it, so we can all have that. But you hit back. If you feel resistance on something, sometimes you plow through that. And so it went viral, and that was cool. And it turned into people ordering some family packs from me, family packages, cool connections. I met a lot of cool people, a lot of old military guys, a lot of old ham radio guys, a lot of homesteaders, a lot of forward thinkers, people that deal with digital autonomous organizations, DAOs, where they want to run a whole community off grid. Don't hit me up for that right now. A lot of people hit me up to build those. I don't want to build those right now. I got a baby on the way, and that involves me flying around, and I'm not going to do that right now. That's why I say, guys, there's a lot of opportunity in this. This is going to be one of the biggest breakthroughs in communication. This is one of the biggest breakthroughs in communication, open source, and it's happening regularly. People are developing new type plugins for this mesh code. So I did put, this is good for like disasters. I think they're trying to make people nervous to say that, but I'm saying, in my opinion, if there's a disaster and I have these all in my EMP waterproof bag tucked back in my closet, if there's a disaster, it's still gonna satisfy me because it satisfies me now, and I can put another repeater up. Instead of just putting one back up on the hill there, I go put two. And so it's a great feeling to have a family package, which is 3 repeaters and some devices, create a full mesh. And so that I offer family kits and starter kits, quick deploy kits. And the way that you get a kit pre-configured with your private channel, you get maps on there, built, everything synced up, antennas tested. If you want to get something like that from me, you go to kingdombusinesslifestyle.com. kingdombusinesslifestyle.com. I'll probably put the link down below. And I also build computers, secure computers, with my antivirus software on there, because I'm helping people from the ground up get off of Windows, get off of Apple, open source everything. Why not use an open source operating system for your computer and not have it spy on you? Why not? It's actually a better experience. It's easier to use than a Windows or Apple machine, and much faster. So, all right, Corey signing out. Let me see if I did anything here. So this video is kind of to lead the horse to the water. And you're going to say, where do I go from here? Go to my website, all right, and put your email in if you want. Get subscribed, because I do send out emails. But the very first link on my website is going to take you to a video library of me showing you how to go through and send a message, pre-canned messages, talking about the basics. And if you want, you can reach out to me if you have a homestead, you know, if you have a team, if you have a church, if you have anyone who wants secure comms. I'll also do some more videos of tests if you guys want. Like I said, I do other stuff besides making YouTube videos, but you know, I had so many requests. I had hundreds of messages and like literally tens of thousands of comments. So I know many are interested, and I wanted to jump in here before the enemy came in. I'm a Christian. Yep, I'll have my Bible out. If you don't like it, watch something else. But I saw the enemy trying to block this because I kept an eye on Mesh. I said, okay, that's good. I see what they're doing there, but it's not there yet. Well, it got there, and so it went viral, and I saw groups of certain survival groups try to shut it down. Right, so we got some fakes out there and some real ones. We got some real ones too, though, because I even promoted my product in a couple of them, and they said, just do that once per day. So they're awesome. Shout out to some of those groups, definitely the admins and the old timers in there. A lot of you guys reached out to me. For every hater that was there, there's probably what 5 million more who love the content and want to learn about this stuff. In the ham radio world, they call them sad hams, which that might come in this video too. Sad hams are people that will try to say GMRS, ham, and amateur. You should learn about that, buddy. Well, I have a kit. It's called the Off-Grid Computer and Communication Kit that has GMRS, MERS, FRS, amateur radio, all the open repeaters for amateur radio in the kit. It has a SDR, software-defined radio, with a Japanese nice antenna connected, with an operating system with about 40 different radio tools, including SDR++. So people, I say that to the sad hams who think that I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just some new kid on the block. I've run a communication business for 8 years. Not that that means I'm better than you, like I say. I'm just saying there's a lot of tension around this topic, and it's the devil. Okay, it's the devil. That's what it is. We can make this work. It's good enough for me and my family, and we can make it better. So I encourage all you out there who know this stuff, help start build this stuff for other people. I'm doing a meeting, a men's group meeting with my church on Saturday to explain this. They're ham radio guys. They've heard about it. They know it. They've kept an eye on it. And I'm going to come in and explain it. Guys, explain this. Because then your church has backup comms, and you can be the light on a hill, literally, organizing stuff in a grid down scenario, just like what happened, with the hurricane. I heard some Marines were out putting up mesh nodes. And they were also saying, find a ham radio operator. There's a place for both. I love my ham radio. TheOffGridComputer.com. Check it out, guys. I offer pre-configured, ready-to-go, out-of-the-box kits. Now, I love ham radio, but everyone hears it, but that's fine. It has its place. But in a like an SHTF scenario, I'll take encrypted, low power, under 1 watt communication over loud voice, period. So I'm going to develop off of this. And there's great future in this. So you guys develop off of this, download the source code, store it off your computer, make sure that you have that. That's called a checkpoint for humanity. We got the code, we got the key. We must multiply the keys that we have and preserve the keys. I'm not going back, if there's some sort of EMP or, crash of the telecom services, I'm not going back. Man, back up all these open source tools. And thanks for watching, guys. I think I said plenty. Oh yeah, don't buy this. Sorry, Rack Wireless. Your chips are decent and great for repeaters, but this antenna doesn't even work. It came with an antenna, didn't even work. So maybe you guys have better experience. Just a little tip: and some of the stuff you have to buy this from China, I didn't know that, but I had to pay all kind of tariff or whatever import fee, and so China, if you want to do business with us, you got to do better than this. And water, like we do waterproof around here, not, you know, almost waterproof. How are you gonna put a repeater up almost waterproof? And I'm pretty sure I've seen videos how to fix this to make it waterproof. Well, yeah, because there's like holes right in there. You can see it from here. Save your money. I paid like $140 for that deal, and it has a smaller battery in these. Doesn't come with an optimized antenna. Always optimize your antennas, and read your Bible, and be love, peace, and joy. All right, guys, Corey Gray here. If you want more videos and you want me to keep doing this, put a comment and share it so other people can understand mesh as well. Later.